Shalom, all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem HaKadosh. Double honors unto the apostles and elders of GMS, who are the true leaders of Israel today, and salutations to all of the Akim who do this work in truth and sincerity, who are risking their lives and their freedoms to do so, as well as the scattered Israelites who come looking like the heathen but are not, by way of their forefathers' seeds who are Israelite men. The true name of the Most High is Yahweh, and his son's name is Yahushai, and the Lord's holy chosen people are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, as we're the ones who suffer under the curses in the book of Deuteronomy. My name is Akalio, and this video is about the prophecies of Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai. Alright, so here it is in the news, hot off the press, okay? Today's date is May 20th, 2025, and this is the report from CNN News. New intelligence suggests Israel is preparing possible strike on Iranian nuclear facilities, U.S. officials say. Alright, so out the gate, knowing the prophecies of Yahweh Shai, we know a few things. Okay, World War III is a part of Bible prophecy. Revelation chapter 11 and verse 14 says, "And the second woe is past," talking about World War II, "and behold, the third woe cometh quickly," which is World War III. Alright, so World War III is a part of Bible prophecy. So we're going to be seeing it develop day by day, right? Things are going to be occurring as time goes on until it reaches the point where World War III, the prophecy manifests, okay? And regarding World War III, it is the heathen that are all going to be gathered together. In Joel chapter 3 and verse 9, "Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles," talking about the heathen, "prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears, let the weak say, I am strong. Assemble yourselves and come all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord Yahweh. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, which is Yahweh-Shaphat, which is Yahweh's judgment, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get you down, for the press is full, the fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord Yahweh is near in the valley of decision." So the heathen are going to be gathered together to go to war, and that's going to be that World War III. And so, reading an article or a title like this, because honestly I haven't read the article as yet, but reading this kind of title, right, and you see the names involved, the state of Israel, the Israelis, and Iran, you know, it automatically perks you up and makes you take notice to it, okay, because these are major players regarding the prophecy of World War III. Iran is Russia's #1 ally, and the state of Israel is America's #1 ally, okay? And the scriptures talk about both of them. The scriptures talk about, who should I start with? Iran. All right, so Iran, regarding the scriptures in Joel chapter 38, not Joel 38, Ezekiel 38, Salakia says in verse 2, "Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him," which is talking about the Russians as they dwell in the land that Gog and Magog once dwelt. "And say, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal," talking about the Russians, "and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth, and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor." So Yahweh Shemishai is going to put the spirit upon the Russians to go to war, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. And that great company is talking about those that are aligned with Russia. And we can even take a look at the world today and how it's operating, you know, current events, and you can see the allies of Russia, especially when you take a look at the BRICS nations. BRICS, BRICS. It says Persia, which Persia today is known as Iran. Ethiopia and Libya, which are those so-called African countries, with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togarma of the north quarters and all his bands, and many people with thee. And this is here in verse 6 is talking about Turkey as they dwell in that land today. All right. Be thou prepared, and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. So the scriptures very clearly state the first ally of Russia, which is Persia, Iran. And in verse 7 it says that Russia is a guard unto them. So in other words, what the scripture is saying is that anything that happens to any of Russia's allies, Russia will be a guard unto them. Russia will protect them. So reading this kind of title, New Intelligence Suggests Israel is Preparing Possible Strike on Iranian Nuclear Facilities, US officials say, it automatically makes one think about World War III and then the involvement of Iran with it and Russia's involvement regarding Russia being a defense unto its allies. All right. And one of those allies being Persia, which is Iran. Okay. So then the next part is this, when it says Israel is preparing possible strike on Iranian nuclear facilities, which this tension has been building up for months, years between the state of Israel and Iran. All right. And the Iranians, they are actually prepared to go to war. Just a few weeks ago, they were marching out in their streets with like this kind of nuclear looking device of sorts, like a missile, walking through the streets talking about how they are ready to fight the state of Israel. All right, so that's Yahweh Shemishai putting the spirit upon them. And then in 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and verse 30, it says, also the Carmanians raging in wrath shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood. And the Carmanians are talking about the Iranians, right, / Persians, who really, their biblical nationality is that they are the Elamites. Okay, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. So the land of the Assyrians is referring to the Edomites, who are these so-called white people who are currently in rulership. And it is the Edomites that, you know, control the state of Israel, and it is them up in there. All right. And right, it's talking about them. But it says here the Carmanians raging in wrath. So Iran, they're going to have the spirit of war, of war and terror upon them. Then the same title, when it says Israel is preparing possible strike on Iranian nuclear facilities, there's a scripture that talks about Iran's involvement. And it's in the book of Jeremiah chapter 15 verse 45, and it says, therefore hear ye the counsel of the Lord Yahweh, that he had taken against Babylon, which is America, and his purpose is that he had purposed against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out, surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. So what this is talking about is that when it says the least of the flock, it's talking about the state of Israel, the Israelis. All right, as they are, you know, one of the fewest, okay, in number, right? Surely the least of the flock, right? The flock of who? Edom, Esau, Edom, shall draw them out, okay? Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. So Babylon is a miracle, and so it's saying that the state of Israel will draw out America to go to war. But then we also know the judgment. It says, surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. So the state of Israel, they're going to be made desolate, right? And America, which is Babylon the Great, is going to be made desolate. So it's going to be, you know, that World War III, and America and her ally, main ally, which is Russia, not Russia, the state of Israel, Salakia, is going to, they're going to lose. All right. And the scriptures let us know the area of contention in the book of Joel chapter 2 and verse 20. It says, but I will remove far off from you the northern army, which is talking about the US, and will drive him into a land barren and desolate. That land barren and desolate is talking about the land of Saudi Arabia, with his face toward the east sea and his hinder part toward the utmost sea. So the east sea is talking about the Euphrates River, and his hinder part toward the utmost sea is talking about the Red Sea. And his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he hath done great things. So we know they're going to lose. All right, they're going to lose the skirmish over there regarding World War III, right? And it's going to happen over there in the so-called Middle East, which is really Western Asia. And then at the end of it, America's enemies, as well as her allies, talking about NATO and the European Union, they are going to shoot missiles at America and destroy her. All right, so that's the judgment that is coming, man. Okay, So with that, let's read a little bit on this. The US has obtained new intelligence suggesting that Israel is making preparations to strike Iranian nuclear facilities, even as the Trump administration has been pursuing a diplomatic deal with Tehran. Multiple US officials similar with the latest intelligence told CNN. Such a strike would be a brazen break with President Donald Trump. US officials said it could also risk tipping off a broader regional conflict in the Middle East, right? Something the US has sought to avoid since the war in Gaza inflamed tensions beginning in 2023. Officials caution it's not clear that Israeli leaders have made a final decision, and that in fact there is deep disagreement within the US government about the likelihood that Israel will ultimately act. Whether and how Israel strikes will likely depend on what it thinks of the US negotiations with Tehran over its nuclear program. But the chance of an Israeli strike on an Iranian nuclear facility has gone up significantly in recent months. And the prospect of a Trump-negotiated US-Iran deal that doesn't remove all of Iran's uranium makes the chance of a strike more likely. The heightened worries stem not only from public and private messaging from senior Israeli officials that is considering such a move, but also from intercepted Israeli communications and observations of Israeli military movements that could suggest an imminent strike. Multiple sources familiar with the intelligence said, okay, cool. So, it's like a rumor, right? Article is quite long. I'm not going to finish it, okay? Quite long, but we got the gist of it, right? And there's the title and the news site that posted it. So if anyone's interested, they can Google it. But yeah, man, this kind of situation, it is meant to happen, right? Because things have to occur to scale up the tensions of World War III to its eventual manifestation, but also the times that we're in, the scriptures let us know. Let's read in Matthew chapter 24, because we have to understand this part as well. Okay? It helps to keep us grounded. Because remember this, the destruction of America and the salvation of the elect of the nation of Israel will not occur until the mark of the beast prophecy is manifest. And the mark of the beast is the microchip. So that prophecy has to come to pass fully before the destruction and the salvation can come. So always remember that when looking at what's going on in the world. All right, in Matthew 24 and verse 6 it says, "And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet." So we're going to constantly hear of wars and rumors of wars. And we have been hearing of wars and rumors of wars. So we're in this period of time, literally right now. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. So these are the beginning of sorrows when we're hearing of wars and rumors of wars, when nation is rising against nation, and when there's famines, pestilences, and earthquakes. And the earthquakes are frequent. The pestilences, there's talks of all kinds of different pestilences around the world, from the quademic to the Ebola to the Hennepin virus that they said they found in Alabama, to the Marburg eye bleeding disease that they spoke about, but most of all, that bird flu situation and that narrative that continues to build. All right, just take notice of that. And then the famine, right? In Gaza, they're experiencing famine to the point to now where they have to eat the Palestinians have to eat like turtle meat and stuff like that, something that was never a part of their diet. And also turtles are unlawful to eat. All right, and then has been famine in Sudan as well. So there is famine in certain places. All right, but it's all going to increase over time. And these are the times that we're in, where we're hearing of these wars and rumors of wars, because we're going to see if this escalates, but we just have to keep in mind the times that we're in based on what Yahushua told us, right, to look out for. Okay, but overall things are moving along, man, and tensions are rising day by day. So this is great news. All right, so with that, all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Shemishai Bashim Kakodesh. Shalom.